Hello. Welcome to Student of the Gun Radio. How are you? I'm doing all right. Thanks for asking. I am your host, Professor Paul Markle. I'm inside of the Glass Case of Emotion Studios. Hey, Jared, can you hear me over there?
Yes, I can hear you.
Give me a little bit more audio or a little more volume in my headphones because it sounds like I'm just talking to the glass wall. Talking. Yeah. You know, sometimes we have to tear down the setup and then put it back together. You're like, what? Yeah, I know. We were really busy yesterday. Yesterday was your holiday. Well, if you work for a bank or the post office or the federal government, it was a holiday. If you work for anybody else, you had to work. You were at work. You know what I noticed, Jared, was that the schools were in session.
Oh, were they really?
Yeah. Well, I'm assuming the schools were in session because school buses were going back and forth down the road that leads to Student of the Gun University with kids in them. So I'm going to assume that school was in session today. And which begs the question, or I'm sorry, yesterday, whatever, on Veterans Day. So the kids don't take Veterans Day off. The schools don't take Veterans Day off. Apparently, not around here they don't, unless the bus drivers were just out practicing on the roads today. That could have been. They could have been just practicing. Because I got cut off on the highway by a school bus. I just didn't get cut off. I was trying to get to my exit, and I couldn't get over to the exit because the school bus basically boxed me out. There was a school bus and a tanker truck and a dipstick towing a big tall trailer, and I missed my exit because they boxed me out. That's not nice. That's not really nice, is it? No. But it's okay. I survived. Thank you very much for asking. All right, we are back at the Glass Case of Emotion Studios, which is located at Student of the Gun University. And on Veterans Day, we were filming. Jared was filming his SWAT Fuel Fitness television segments for the upcoming Season 6, which is coming very soon. I was proofing...
The microphone bumping? Were you proofing that?
I just wondered what that was all about over there. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. There's sometimes gorillas invade the studio and start pounding stuff. It's like a Samsonite commercial in here, and no one under age 40 knows what I'm talking about.
I was actually just testing the little shock absorber, and it failed.
Testing the shock absorber on your microphone to see if it would.
Yeah.
It did fail.
Yeah.
So what are you guys doing? What's going on in your world? In our world, where Jared and I both had computer issues this week. I'm actually working on a loaner computer right now that is running so slow that I want to kill it, myself, something, anything. I have an urge to kill. If I had to use, I should just read books. Let me tell you, is it wrong to wake up every day praying for an EMP?
That's funny. Well, then we couldn't spread the message.
I don't care.
We couldn't help other people.
I don't care.
I'll
write paper. See these things right here? Look, this thing. We were communicating with each other with these 30, 40 years ago. We could do it again. We have the technology.
Yeah, but that's not instant.
We don't need instant.
You can't.
There's too much instant in our world. I want you guys to listen to me. I really do. Don't think that I don't. But we're never, I don't think we're ever going to fix this nation as long as people are so effing distracted. I can say effing, right?
Yeah.
EFFIN. As the populace, the voting populace, is so effing distracted by shiny gadgets. Oh, I don't even know what to say. I'm a little bit depressed today, quite frankly, to tell you the truth. There's news in the news. I've been looking at Facebook posts and Twitter posts and all this stuff, and it just has me depressed. It makes me think that there is no future for this nation, or at least not a viable future. It's going to be a destructive, dystopian future. If you don't know what dystopian is, look it up. But today is Thursday, and I tell you what we're going to do. We're going to start out Thursday's episode, which is today. We're going to start it out with our new Student of the Gun homeroom segment. Now, the Student of the Gun homeroom segment is something that we started doing about a month ago, and we're going to do them every Thursday. They're going to be dedicated features on Student of the Gun Radio. Thank you very much. And they're brought to you, with the reason you're able to listen to them is by our new friends at Cap Arms, CAPAIRM, AARRMMS.
AARP, what?
Yeah, no. CAPARMS.com. And like we said, we got some 9mm, some 45, and some 223, and what we've shot the most of so far is the 223. Jared and I both shot it through our rifles when we went to Texas, and it shot fantastically well, zero problems, very clean shooting. So you can check those guys out at caparms.com. Jared, go ahead and bump me in, and we're just going to just jump right into this. How's that sound?
What you gonna do when it all comes back to the place that you never wanted it to come back to? And where you gonna roll when the bottom drops out and you got no place to go? Who you gonna trust when trust is a must? You better roll with the rest of us. So pack your bags and all the faith you can, cause it's about ready to hit the fan. Come to ready. It's 2012, all about the re-election of an antichrist. Come to
Thank you, Madison Rising, with the song Come to the Ready. Come to the Ready. Madison Rising, the official rock band of Student of the Gun. Today's question on Student of the Gun Homeroom is, when should I teach my kids about firearms? That's a great question. People who are sport shooters, hunters, people who were raised in a traditional outdoor setting in the country, that's not usually that big of a deal. It just kind of comes naturally. But let's face it, we're not an agrarian country anymore. Most people live in either urban or suburban areas, and they weren't raised in the woods, they weren't raised in the country. And a lot of you out there listening in the audience are probably first-generation gun owners yourself. We know that in the last 5 to 6 years that we've seen the increase in first-time gun owners amongst adults is higher, it's more dramatic than ever in the entire history of our nation. In the United States of America, traditionally, people were introduced to firearms in one of two ways. Number one, their parents and grandparents introduced them to shooting and firearms and hunting and what have you, and it was a family tradition. Or they grew up and they took a job where they had to carry a gun or use a gun, primarily the military, but also police. So that was the main ways that people were introduced. And if it wasn't a family tradition, and if it wasn't something that you did for your job, there's only a small percentage of people that would just on their own decide to get interested in firearms. Well, that all changed during the last 6 or so years, 7 years, and people started getting a little more nervous, a little more panicky, a little more concerned with their waking up, paying attention, looking around, thinking, wow, this is not the world I grew up in. And when I was a kid, when I was a teenager, even in my 20s and college, whatever, I never thought I would want a gun. I would never thought I would need a gun. I never thought I would desire to own one, and now I do. Okay, so you guys are out there. You went in the last whatever and got yourself a handgun, what have you, or a rifle, or whatever makes you comfortable. I don't care. But you've got kids. And so here you are, a first-generation gun owner, and you have kids that are either, very little or kindergarten age or elementary or what have you. And your question is, when do I introduce my kids to firearms? Because I wasn't introduced to firearms as a kid, so I'm not really sure when is a good time. Should I wait till they're 18 and they can make their own decisions? Well, I'll wait till they're adults. Well, the question I would ask you is, number one, how mature are your children? And you're like, what do you mean? Well, you know how mature your children are or not. Can your children be trusted alone in the kitchen? The kitchen is the one room in the house that kids probably get in the most trouble in. That is where they break things. That is where dangerous things like stoves and ovens are, drain cleaners and chemicals, cleaning chemicals, bleach and, matches and candles and what have you. Can your kids be trusted alone in the kitchen or not? Well, okay. Have you taught your children to look both ways before crossing the street? Well, yeah, duh. Now, do they get that, or did you just tell them and then they're just oblivious and running out in the street? If you tried to teach your kids to look both ways and you still catch them running blindly out into the street, the lesson probably didn't stick. When your kids can be taught basic safety things like we don't play with matches, we look both ways before we cross the street, and so on, that is when you can teach them firearm safety. You introduce the firearm and you say, this is a gun. Guns are dangerous. Now, they're not bad or evil, but they are dangerous. They're dangerous like fire. They're dangerous like the pool. Do you let your kids play unsupervised in and around the pool or not? That kind of thing. Sharp objects. Do your kids know not to play with the steak knives or the box cutter in the utility drawer or what have you? Do they know not to do that, or are they still at that position in the part of their life or the where they can't be? And I'm not saying grab your kids and tell them to shoulder your 12-gauge shotgun and blast around so they know it hurts or what have you. No, I'm not telling you to do that. But what I'm telling you is the first thing you do is you introduce your kids to the firearms. You teach them to respect it like a dangerous power tool. You wouldn't let your kid your 5-year-old, you wouldn't hand him a saber saw and go to town, Johnny, would you? No, you wouldn't. But you don't want your kid growing up afraid of saber saws, or if you have a saber saw or a circular saw or whatever. So first, teach the kids fundamentals, right? The 4 universal safety rules. You teach, and if you want to do the Eddie Eagle thing, see a gun, don't touch the gun, go get an adult, that kind of a deal. Rock on. 5-year-olds, 4-year-olds, so they can be taught. 3-year-olds even, if they're mature 3-year-olds. If you see a gun, don't touch it, leave the room, find an adult. Because your kids aren't always going to be with you. You say, well, we don't have guns in our house, Paul. Or we lock our guns up in a safe and the keys hanging around my neck and stuff like that. Okay, great. But are your kids always going to be with you? Is there ever a chance that your kid's going to be somewhere else where a firearm has been discovered? I always knew that when Jared and Paxton and Zachary were growing up, if they ever went over to their friend's house or they were at their friend's house, you say, but we know. This is one where parents always get tricked up. Like, we were good friends with DJ's parents, and we know that you wouldn't go up there and you wouldn't be exposed to dangerous things. But how often do your kids goes to stay the night with little Jimmy or little Frankie or little Bobby or Susie or whatever, then they get up Saturday morning and they tell Susie's mom, hey, we're going to go over and play with Derp-a-Derp. And so she says, okay, well, be back for lunch. And they go over there. So they go from A to B to C. You weren't expecting them to be at C. What's going on in the C house? I don't know. You don't know. Oh. So you need to teach your kids basic fundamental stuff like that. Now, when it comes to when do they learn how to handle the actual hardware, again, that goes back to the maturity level. How mature are your children? Can they be trusted with sharp objects? Can your kids be trusted not to put forks in the wall sockets and what have you? If they can, introduce them to shooting with a .22 rifle. Get a bolt-action .22 rifle, sit them down at the bench, and they'll enjoy it. You can teach 6, 7, 8-year-olds how to do it. It's all in the child's maturity. Don't overwhelm them with it. It should always be enjoyable. I wouldn't, kids know when things are serious, when things aren't serious, and get into a good 4-H shooting sports program if there's one near you. We've talked about it before. It's a fantastic way to have kids with other kids and trained adult, instructors. Fantastic way to introduce kids to firearms. So the answer to that question, then this week's Cap Arms Student of the Gun homeroom question is, when should I teach my kids about firearms? I would say number 1, as soon as they know not to play with matches or they can be taught to look both ways before crossing the street. That's when I would teach them about universal safety rules. And then after that, again, depending on their maturity level, get them out to the range, take them to a club like a 4-H shooting sports club, what have you, and introduce them to it as a fun activity. All right. We've got a story for you. I'm getting a little, while Jared cues up the intro music, it's one of your favorites. Everyone out there, it's one of your favorites. We have a story here about another half measure. And folks, I'm getting a little bit sick and tired of trying to convince people to save their own lives. You know what I'm at the point, Jared?
Not caring.
Yes, I'm at the point just about not caring. When I see nonsense like this, I'm just about to the point to say, you know what? Drive on. It's a fantastic idea. I think you should do it. Just go with that. Because you're too... Maybe what we need is to cull the herd. Maybe the stupid people need to stop reproducing. Well, that's mean. Oh, that's awful mean of you there, Paul. Well, how are we going to get the stupid people out of the population if we coddle the stupid? If people embrace something like this and think it's a great idea, and then they end up dead because they embraced a stupid idea, whose fault is that? 1,000 years ago, human beings knew how to keep themselves safe from predators. 2,000 years ago. Go back to the Old Testament. People knew what they needed to do to protect themselves from predators. Here we are in 2015. I don't know. I'm going to get a shiny object. And this little shiny object with a button that's going to keep me safe from predators. I think it's just time to call the herd. Jared, hit it.
Tiptoe through the window, by the window, that is where I'll be. Come tiptoe through the tulips with me.
Thank you, Tiny Tim. Oh, and you're welcome to all you hippies who are now going to be singing Tiny Tim and Tiptoe Through the Tulips as you go about your work all day long. Like I said, you are welcome. All right, the story is titled, it's from YoungCons.com, and that's Young Conservatives. YoungCons.com, this new coin-sized device, this new coin-sized device women are carrying could save lives. It's a coin-sized device, and women are now carrying it. It could save your life. And I'm thinking, when did they make guns the size of a coin? Well, they don't. But listen. According to Michael Cantrell of Young Cons, we live in a dangerous world, a time when criminals seem to be more bold than ever. Here's where I could get into how much of this is caused by our current cultural fear towards guns and failed gun control laws. But I won't. I think Michael's with us here. It says, and whether you think this is sexist or not, women are more likely to be victims than dudes. Okay, well, whatever. Let's go on. Well, one company out there, Roar for Good, and that's ROAR, Robert, Oscar, Adam, Robert, for Good, is using creativity and innovation to develop a product that is actually designed to put them out of business one day. I am curious. I will read more. If you happen to see a woman walking around the street with an object roughly the size of $50, there could be a good chance that she's carrying a device called an Athena. What is an Athena? Is it like a directional mine, like a little mini Claymore? You know, and directional mines, are actually a beautiful thing. I just command-controlled directional mines. For those of you who are thinking about, investing in command-controlled directional mines, I highly recommend them. According to IJ Review, if a person being attacked presses the button on Athena, it sends out an alarm. The company boasts is louder than a freight train. I'm sorry, but nothing the size of $50 can be louder than a 2,000-ton freight train, but whatever. While also transmitting an SOS signal that goes out to the cell phones of friends and family. Yay! It's a police call box that you carry in your purse. Yay! You know what? Go for it. I think this is a fantastic idea. I think every woman in America should get one of these little SOS Athena deals, stick it in their pockets, their purse, their waistband, or whatever, because that way, when you've been raped, robbed, and mugged, and murdered, your family and friends will know where to come to find the body. Sweet Buddha on a rubber raft. You're like, hey, Paul, you said that in the event of an assault or an attack or whatever, that noise is a good thing, that you should make noise. Yeah, I think that is a good thing. Your alarm on the alarm on the building here, the alarm on the house, it makes noise. Lets the bad guy know, okay, there's people coming. And in addition to the noisy thing that we have here at the shop, I have something else that's attached to my body, to Jared's body, that's within easy reach. We have other things that make noise too, and it's those other things that make noise. The alarm, the noise, is just to alert the good guys that it's time to start fighting. The noise in and of itself doesn't. I don't even know what. Oh, Jared. You know what? It's a great idea. I think it's fantastic.
No, that's not all. It's see, what this thing does is it tells your friends and family where you are, where to find you,
where the device is located.
Yeah.
So your daughter, let's say you live in wherever. Let's say you live somewhere in rural Ohio, and your daughter's going to college at the University of Cincinnati, which is a horrible, nasty city, and it should be scourged from the face of the earth. But I digress. So let's say you live in Zanesville, Ohio, and you send your 19-year-old daughter off to go to the University of Cincinnati, and you're sitting home one night at 8 o'clock, and your phone starts going, woo, 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 and you pick it up, and you're like, holy crap, little Susie activated the Athena. What the funk and wagnall are you going to do from Zanesville?
Call 911.
Call Zanesville 911. And what? All right. Let's just say for S's and G's that your daughter, wife, whatever is in, they're working in. I'm just using Ohio because I'm geographically familiar with it. They're working in downtown Columbus. And they're leaving work one night from the Cigna office building or whatever, and you live in one of the many suburbs of Columbus, which is a 15-minute drive away if there's no traffic, 30 minutes if there's traffic. And you're sitting there, or you're in your car on your way home from work, or you're whatever, and your phone goes off. Susie is in trouble. Her Athena is going off in the parking garage of blah, blah, blah insurance company, downtown Columbus. What the funk and wagnall are you going to do? You're going to get on your phone, you're going to panic dial, hope that they pick up the phone and say, oops, that was an accident, sorry. And if they don't, what are you going to do? All right, you're going to speed over there if you're 30 to 15 minutes away or whatever. What the Just buy your wives and daughters guns and train them how to use them. Buy them a gun and a can of pepper spray. Train them how to use them. Get them mentally fit and let them fight their fight. I can't. Blah, blah. Am I wrong to be just so frustrated by the level of stupidity? We spend how many thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars were invested in this? Jared, what do you think? If they took all the money they invested in creating the Athena and put it into like Kel-Tec P380s and ammunition, I mean, we'd have like a Connex box full of pistols and ammo.
Yeah.
Maybe I got an idea. Maybe instead of wasting the money on the monthly fee, take your daughter or wife to the freaking range. Better yet, enroll them in a training course. Send them away for the weekend to Tactical Response or TDI Ohio or wherever. They'll be infinitely more prepared to deal with bad people in the world. But you don't understand, Paul. You don't understand. Where my daughter goes to school, it's a gun-free zone. Where my wife works, they're not allowed. Do I need to get into that conversation with you? Well, I don't think I do. I can't imagine that there's anyone in our audience that would be like, you don't understand. They're not allowed. Oh, let me guess. Rape and robbery and assault and murder Are those all against the law too? Oh, they are? Well, they're against the law. The rape, robbery, and murder are against the rules. So they don't ever happen anymore in America because they're against the rules, right? No, they do happen. Oh, but I thought they were against the rules, and that's how we kept people safe, was by making more rules. Stupidity on display. Something that's not stupid is going to brownells.com and picking up a can of Duracoat, or a couple of cans of Duracoat, the can-in-can technology. Duracoat, because life's too short to have an ugly gun. Yes, indeed it is. And Brownells has the emergency and survival gear section. You might want to check that out. Also, they have ammunitions. If you want to stock up on some ammunitions, you could do that as well. You're allowed. You're an American. If you're not an American, you're just listening to us in from behind the Iron Curtain, or the whatever curtain you're living behind, bamboo curtain. What is it down in Australia? So I guess it wouldn't be an iron curtain. It would be a bamboo curtain.
No. It's the deep web curtain.
The deep web. No, what? The eucalyptus curtain. That's what the koalas eat, right? They just sit around all day in the trees eating eucalyptus, being high. What do koalas? What disease do koalas spread with their pee? It's like
chlamydia.
I don't know. It's something.
Zach.
When we went to the.
He can't hear me.
The zoo. We went to the zoo and we were looking at the pandas. I had Paxton with me. We went into not pandas. I'm sorry. The koala house, and the zoologist lady was telling us all about it, and that for whatever reason that they transmitted this disease through their urine. Like, wow, that's a wonderful little creature you got there. Crossbreed Holsters at crossbreedholsters.com. They've got a bunch of new products out. They have Freedom Carry. The appendix, you can appendix or you can spleen carry. You can adjust it as you see fit. So check those guys out at crossbreedholsters.com, and of course brownells.com, and Lauer Custom Weaponry.com. All right. Hey, you're wondering, you're like, well, what can we do? What can we do to make our schools safer places? Because well, apparently what we can do in the United States of America is we can spend $2.5 million. $2.5 million. And you just raised your hand and you said, Paul, interrogative. Is it not true that we are like the United States government is, well, the people of the United States, because of their wasteful spending, aren't we like $1 trillion in debt, or 20 trillion? Aren't we like an astronomical, ridiculous amount of money in debt? Well, yeah, duh. So, just because you don't have any money left doesn't mean you should stop spending money. I mean, there's important work to be done. We can't just stop these important programs for some little silly thing like being $1 trillion in debt, or $100 billion, or whatever craziness, I don't know. It's something astronomical, like the amount of money that you could build a moon out of the amount of money. You could build a Death Star, for all of you Star Wars geeks, out of the amount of money that we are indebted. But that doesn't stop us. Oh, no. Oh, thanks to thefreebeacon.com, we know, and thanks to Elizabeth Harrington, that the Department of Education is spending upwards of $2.5 million to bring mindfulness intervention to kindergartners. And you're like, okay, like all across America, right? I mean, they're gonna spend $2.5 million to institute this program in every kindergarten in the United States of America. Never mind the fact that the federal government should not be involved in local schools, but I guess that train has sailed, has it not, Jared?
Apparently it has. You know what? Real quick, I have to take a brain break, okay? I'll be back in about 30 minutes.
You're retarded.
Is that okay?
A brain break?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have to go find a calm spot.
Yeah. Go find your calm spot. The Department of Education is spending upwards of $2.5 million to bring a mindfulness intervention to kindergartners in Chicago. Just in Chicago. Oh, my
kindergartners don't understand what it is, what it means to shut your mind off.
Here's the deal. Okay, the Department of Education, under the Comrade Berry administration, is going to take upwards, and when they say 2.5 million, that's where it starts. That's not where it stops. It's like, yeah, or however much more we feel like, they're funneling $2.5 million into the pockets of their cronies in Chicago. That's how this story should read. We're going to use children as an excuse to take $2.5 million of taxpayer money, and we're going to funnel it to our crony organizations in Chicago. They're going to use this money so kids can go to calm spots in the corner to watch nature videos. What in the funk and wagnall, that's my thing today, is going on here? The National Institutes of Health has spent over $100 million studying the New Age meditation technique. But it is not only the federal agency pouring federal funding into mindfulness. The Education Department has introduced a Calm Classroom program into 3,000 schools through its Investing in Innovation Fund, costing the taxpayers $2,513,093 to date. Mindfulness is a secular psychological mode of involving non-judgmental focus on present moment sensations. Oh my! Give me something to strangle. You want your kids to be calm? Take those little brats out to the playground and run their butts around for 15 minutes. Bring them back in, teach them a couple things, ABCs, 1, 2, 3s, color, shapes, and blocks. Go have lunch. Take them outside, run those suckers around in circles for a while, another 15, 20 minutes. Bring them back in, teach them some more stuff, run them out one more time, bring them in, finish the day, and send the turds home. That's how you get kids to calm down. How many of your schools have eliminated recess because they don't have time for it in the administrative day? Well, yeah, they explained it to us, Paul. The way our local school administration explained it to us was that, the current curriculum and the requirements by the state-mandated Board of Testing and Institutes of Judgment and we don't have time for recess. They have to learn about Earth Day and gender studies and self-esteem and stuff like that. So we can't waste time on recess. No, send those little crumb crunchers outside and make the turds run around. Throw rubber balls at them. Children are filled with lots of energy. Children naturally have a short attention span. That's the way children are. We've known this for 2,000, 3,000. We've known it since the history of man. But in our great enlightened era, we need to dope our kids up so that they're little mindless zombies. And now we're going to spend, the National Institutes of Health has spent over $100 million studying. How do you spend $100 million? Jared, are there $100 million yoga classes out there? There must be some yoga teachers that are like driving Lambos. There's got to be. Folks, all these when you hear these dollar signs and derpa, this is what you need to know. It's check kiting. It's freaking. This is insulting. This story is insulting to me.
it is ridiculous.
It's insulting. It should insult you. You should see that and think, how stupid do you think I am? You're going to funnel $2.5 million into Chicago. Whose pockets is that money going into? That's what you need to be asking. So they can create a corner spot for kids to sit and watch nature videos. You people are lunatics. And you folks in America are just going right along with them. Well, you don't understand. It was explained to me by this local school board that where does the DEA get it? Department of Education, where do they get an extra $2.5 million? Are we operating in a deficit budget? That's insanity. That's like looking at your own personal home budget and saying, well, currently, between my wife and I, we bring in, we clear $2,800 a month after taxes and Social Security and FICA and insurance and all that. But our monthly expenditures are $3,500. So what we decided to do is, in order to deal with that deficit, we're going to spend an extra $500 per month, and we're going to bring it up to $4,000 in expenditures, and we're just going to keep borrowing money on our Visa and MasterCards, and we're going to get a second mortgage on our house. That's how we're going to fix. Apparently, that's how you fix your deficit crisis, is to spend more money on ridiculous nonsense. What? Go. You know what, America? Go for it. I think it's a fantastic idea. I think we should. I don't think $2.5 million is enough. I think we should spend more. Moving right along, Jared, I'm about to acknowledge our good friends at Velocity Triggers.
Yeah.
And you are going to say the current and cool catchphrase that Velocity Triggers is. But before I do that, I'm going to say SWAT Fuel, special weapons and tactics for the body. Use it or lose it, or something like that. Use it and lose it. Oh, that's a good one.
Use it and
lose it. And lose it.
That is true. Use it and lose it.
And lose it. At the same time. Go to SWATfuelstore.com. That's correct, isn't it, Jared? SWAT Fuel Store. Squished all together in a little URL.
SWAT Fuel Store.
SWATfuelstore.com.
.com.
And when you go to checkout.com, use SOTG201 fiber, and you're going to save yourself some money. All right, before we move on, let's go ahead and have Jared tell us what Velocity Triggers is.
Velocity Triggers, it's superior quality and value.
Superior quality and value. Velocity Triggers.
I just had to make him think I forgot. Superior quality and value. And I said it correctly.
All right. Good job. And don't forget about our buddies over at Century Arms, the sweetest smelling arms company in America.
Sweetest smelling arm company in America?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Isn't that their new thing?
Yeah, sure.
Well, it is now. I just decided it. CenturyArms.com. All right. The last story we're going to talk about is a good news story. That's why we saved it for last. That's why I say, hey man, I shot. A good shot, man. A good shot, kid. All right, this story comes to us from theblaze.com. Oh, and thank you, Filter, for our Go Team Moment update theme. Theblaze.com. Burglary suspects thought they were prepared to handle 13-year-old home alone. Then they didn't account for his mother's gun. I love SEO titles so much. Story by John Street. Police say a 13-year-old boy was home alone in Charleston County, South Carolina, when he went to grab his mother's gun after he heard two alleged burglars trying to break in. Just say two burglars, two scumbags, two pieces of human filth. That's why I could never write news stories. It seems to me that there were alleged burglars, Bob. No, they were pieces of human filth that needed to be ventilated. And ventilated they were, Bob. The boy, who police say feared for his life, well, I'd say so, fired through the door at 28-year-old Ira J. Bennett of North Charleston and 31-year-old Lamar Brown of Somerville. One of them fired back, and both escaped inside a car. The boy then fired several more times as the two men drove away. He's giving them one to grow on. There you go. Neighbors said that around the same time they heard gunshots, they also saw a gray car speed away from the house. Police responded to the scene and recovered a Colt 45 pistol. All right, as a gun geek, I've got to know, was this actually a 45 Colt, a 45 long Colt single-action Army revolver, or was this a 1911 45 ACP? But the story says a Colt 45. From the area where the suspects were allegedly trying to break in, WHNS-TV reported. Bennett was later arrested, and here's the go team part. Woohoo! Brown was pronounced dead at a nearby hospital. You like that? That's my applause thing. We don't have an applause meter, really. Police said that Bennett initially reported that someone had shot at the car while they were driving on the interstate. We're just driving along, minding our own business. There we was, minding our own business, and someone shot at us. We're like, that's interesting, because people who look just like you were wanted. So Bennett has been charged with first-degree burglary and possession of a firearm during the commission of a violent crime. The mother of the 13-year-old said she's never witnessed any crime in her neighborhood since living there. The family left their home for the night because they didn't feel safe. All right. You know what?
Did you see
RTFO.
Did you see what she said? She said that she had never witnessed any crime in her neighborhood. So she didn't go find the crime. The house didn't go find the crime.
You mean the crime found them?
Yeah, the crime came to them.
But I live in a good neighborhood.
Yep.
I don't go to bad places. I don't drink. I don't go to bars. I stay out of bad neighborhoods. There's no reason for me to have a gun. Do you live in a good neighborhood? I've never been killed before. I've never been attacked before. How many times do you have to be attacked, before you are killed? I think it's one, unless you're a cat. So rock on, kid, RTFO. So this goes all the way back to the beginning of the show when I said, when do we teach our children to use firearms? Well, it's a good thing for this kid. He should have just let them break in, and it's just stuff. It's you should just let people steal your property. You should let people break. If go up to Ferguson and ask them, they'll tell you that you should just let people break into your house. It's just property. Just property. People should be allowed to take your property, and you just have to suck it. Ladies and gentlemen. The children are our future. Teach them right, and they will lead the way. Oh, before I go, and we're just about to put the wraps in this because the clock says I'm supposed to shut my mouth. As the grad program people know, because we gave them a little teaser a few days ago, we currently have the hard proof copies of the Honey Badger book. That's right, Team Honey Badger, Raising Fearless Children in a Cowardly World. And there's nothing in that book about mindful installation or what's that? Mindful institution, mindful insulation, mindful whatever hippie intervention. Yeah, there's nothing in the book about mindful intervention. But the book is being proofed. It is being proof copied or whatever. Wow, I'm losing it right now. I think I'm tired. I need to go eat dinner. But anyway, my point is this. Before Thanksgiving, it will be available. You're welcome. So it's coming. All right, kids. This is the last public hour of the week. For you grad program people, we will be back to talk to you tomorrow. The rest of you, don't be sad. We'll be back on Monday. Until then, remember, you're a beginner once, but you should indeed be a student for life.